we're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, we're about 22 hours until game time. Hell, it's like Christmas Eve here in my house and probably yours too, man. I was actually, me and my dog were actually practicing running through the tunnel a while ago. I mean, she's not very good at it, but she better get better for tomorrow before that team decides to run out of that new south end zone. But definitely excited, man. And we're going to talk a little football here. We'll probably get into, I think we're going to give our predictions at the end of the show. So please stick around and do that or listen to that. And then we want to get some of your hot takes and we'll probably give up some hot takes ourselves and then kind of talk a little bit about what's going to be important to win that game tomorrow, both on the offensive and defense side of the ball. Your thoughts, man, and your excitement.
You were so fired up, man. You had a hard time getting that out, right?
Yeah.
Running through the tunnel. No, I'm right there with you. Like I said, this program is probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour long. We understand that North Carolina and Virginia Tech are going on simultaneous. Got to see that crowd at Virginia Tech loaded for Bear. And I imagine tomorrow at 3:30 Saturday, DKR is going to be just as full. And like you said, that stadium looks beautiful. The new turf installed, south end zone complete. Let's get ready. Let's get fired up. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of dig into the game here, man. Obviously, you got a guy. Let's talk about a little bit about Louisiana first, I guess. You know, they got 20 to 22 starters coming back, and a quarterback that's, I think, maybe a fifth-year senior, if I'm not mistaken, in Levi Jones. I think he's somewhere probably around 5'10", 190 pounds. Reminds me of a 𝗟𝗏𝗧 in the fact that you don't want to let this guy escape outside the pocket. He can make plays on the move. So I think it's going to be important to keep him in the pocket, make sure we're rushing upfield. We're trying to get guys to bring him down, but at the same time, you don't want to rush too far up because I think it'll leave lanes for him to be able to react. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to run the ball a lot. I think our defensive line will have an opportunity to show up big in this game. You know, you want to make them probably pass it more than what they want to. I think he had a 59% pass percentage last year. He regressed from his junior year to his senior year. So that's where we kind of sit right now, man. Your thoughts on really the Raging Cajun team and what to expect for tomorrow?
Well, you called him Levi Jones. His name is Levi Lewis, but you're right about his classification.
Hey, there you go.
I feel the need sometimes to correct us when we mess up, because if we don't, then we're going to get beat up in the comments below. So
absolutely, man.
Levi Lewis is their quarterback. Like you said, he's 5'10", 190 pounds. He likes to throw off schedule. He's better off schedule than in the pocket. You hit the nail on the head there. They want to do exactly what we want to do, and they want to establish the run early. So you're right on the money. Establish the run is their ideal, the same way it is going to be ours with Bijan Robinson. Like you said, 20 out of 22 starters, 10 on offense, 10 on defense. Billy Napier returns a team that was 10-1 last year, that lost their only game to Coastal Carolina. 30-27. So like them, they're like us. They had the one loss was a close loss. But the year before, they're not a one-hit wonder. Like they were 10-1 last year, but that's coming off an 11-3 season the year before. So Billy Napier's got this program going in the right direction. He's been there a while. The players that he has have been there for a while. So don't mistake. It's going to be a tough game for us tomorrow. Do I think we're going to win? Yes, we'll give you our predictions in the last couple of minutes of the show. But absolutely, you got a very experienced, good football team coming into Austin tomorrow that has the same mindset you do. They want to run the football first and see where that leads.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and you go back to the head coach who, him and Sarkisian were at Alabama together. I think you go back and you probably look at this year, he probably had an opportunity to go be a head coach at a couple of SEC schools, man, and turn it down to stay there at Louisiana, probably to finish the job. I think he wants to win that Sun Belt championship. He had an opportunity to win it last year, kind of slipped through his hands. But this year, I think that's one of the reasons he came back, and he knows he's got a team that's returning a whole bunch of starters. Offensive line, if you go back and really look at the offensive line there, you got a outside of the center, you're looking at everybody being about over 300 pounds. That center is probably going to take a lot of work from 𝗟𝗓𝗓 Coburn and Devondre Sweat. He currently sits at about 270 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, which trying to take on a couple of guys at 320 pounds, 330 pounds is definitely is an advantage for us. And I think he's going to probably have to use a guard center combo to be able to take care of those interior guys and allowing our defensive guys, our outside defensive guys, to be able to get a little pressure, not from just outside, but also the inside as well. But from looking at it from the outside, they lost both running backs from last year. Both guys, I think, went on to go play in the NFL. If you had an opportunity to go look at that Iowa State game where they played there in Ames, one of the guy that actually took that kick to the house is actually looks like it's going to be the starting running back this year. But and from a defensive standpoint, hang
on before you go to defense, man. Let me get in here. So you're talking about Shane Vallow is their center, and he's 267 pounds. But to the right side of him, he has Osiris Torrance, who's 6'5", 332 pounds, and to the left of him, he has Ken Marks, who's 306 pounds. So, like I said, yeah, they have a diminutive center, or on the smaller side at 267 pounds. Probably going to allow, if you listen to our overtime podcast on the Pigskin Podcast Network, you heard us talk about how they were probably going to have some guard help, and then that would then free up pressure from both the outside, the buck and the jack defensive ends, but then allow DeMarvion Overshown sometimes to get free runs to the quarterback, probably looking to play games similar to Oklahoma's defense, stunts, outside pressures, moving guys around on the defensive line, pre-snap and post-snap to get as much pressure on the quarterback as we possibly can. But then again, you want to keep pressure, but keep Lewis in the pocket because, again, he makes plays off schedule outside the pocket better than he does as a pure 3-step, 5-step, 7-step guy in the pocket. So, yeah, just a little bit about that offensive line and why it's important that we believe we can stuff the run with, like you said, with the Jomo and Coburn stepping out there first, and then Sweat and that deep defensive line. Talking about actually Vernon Broughton's currently backing up Moro Jomo with that defensive tackle. But, yeah, running those 8 guys in there that we know we have to continue to create pressure.
Yeah, and Gregory I here brings up the fact that I think their left tackle is injured. I know he was questionable as of yesterday, I believe. He says he's out for the game. So, again, you don't know what they're bringing in, but it sounds like they have some significant, snaps, from the offensive line. So kind of probably have to just kind of push somebody in there to mesh into there. Getting on to the defense, man. Again, you're bringing 10 guys back on a team that, obviously lost one game last year. And from what Sarkisian says, that they don't ever miss that. They don't ever misplay a ball. They're always where they're at, where they need to be, which is important when you're talking about defense, because it really is forcing you to be able to make play after play after play, and makes you make mistakes over time. There's 2 guys, man, in Zion Hill, who is a second-team Sunbelt guy. He's going to play defensive end for them. He's kind of a defensive tackle, defensive end, and then safety Breland Trahan, who's also second-team Sunbelt Conference player as well. That's going to be probably roaming the backside of that as a safety. So when you're looking at it, obviously we know what we need to do from an offensive standpoint, and that is really get Bijan as many possible carries as he can. And we'll get into probably some predictions on how many yards he may run for, or who's going to be the lead rusher and who's going to be the leading pass catcher and so on and so forth. But it all comes down to Hudson Card. If you look at had an opportunity to go back and watch that Ohio State game against Minnesota, the biggest thing is he's got to be able to understand that there's going to be some ebb and flows. There's going to be some up and down during the game. Walking into a stadium for the first time with 100,000 fans, he's quarterback 1. He's going to have to really minimize the pressure he's under. And he's got to understand he's got playmakers around him that's going to allow him to do that as well as an offensive line that's going to protect him.
Yeah, I know you talked about a couple guys that were second-team All-Sun Belt, but a couple guys you need to be looking out for, too, in that linebacker core, Lorenzo McCaskill and Farrod Gardner. Both of them had over 7 tackles per game by average. So, yeah, depth. Like Clint's talking about, they got 10 guys returning, a ton of experience. They're up and down the Sun Belt, first, second, third team, and honorable mention on both the offensive and defensive side of football. So, yeah, look at those linebackers. Again, I feel like we have a pretty good, with our experienced offensive line, maybe our 22 personnel looking to run Bijan pretty routinely. Hope those linebackers that I just talked about don't make very many plays, but they're out there. And they've been pretty consistent in their play over the last couple of years for the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, and I think they're going to try to force you into what you're trying to force them into, and that's really stopping the run, putting probably 8 or 9 guys in a box. But so it's going to in forcing Hudson Card to be able to pass against them and against, probably if you listen to Rod Babers today, one of the probably top 10 defensive back groups in the country, regardless of power five or group of five. So again, you're going to have to make plays. So to me, it's run Bijan as much as you can, probably from a 12 personnel set. One running back, two tight ends, and force their hand. But they're going to get to a point where Hudson Card's going to have to make a decision. He's going to have to get it to those playmakers in 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗧 Worthy, Joshua Moore and Whittington as well. Those guys are going to have to figure out they're going to get off press coverage, to be able to make plays when it's necessary to make those plays. Somebody asked us earlier, what play do you think they're going to run first? Let me bring that up because I thought that was a good question since we were talking about it. And we actually talked about it. If you had an opportunity to listen to that podcast that we put out, our second episode of the overtime on the Texas Football Talk podcast on the Pregame Podcast Network, and you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher as well.
I got it. You got it too. Go ahead.
So Travis Acton, what do y'all think is going to be the first play called? I'll give it to Jeremy first, and then I'll take it after Jeremy.
So like Clint said, this question was brought up last in our podcast, and I think the way they think we're selling, and I hope Louisiana's not listening to this, number one. And we know Steve Sarkisian said that he scripts his first couple plays. He has a diet of what he feels like we do really, really well, and we're going to get after it. But, I think they're looking for probably a lead play from Bijan Robinson to get the table started. So I'm going to play action off the first play. Probably looking at a heavy set, with 22 personnel to make them think that I'm running the ball and then trying to go over the top of play action. That's my first play from scrimmage.
Yeah, he's going to play action. And it's a good thought, man. But I got to – hey, they put 8 in the box, man. We're going to test them early. I think our offensive line is ready to eat. They know they're going against a really good defensive line. I think the best thing that you could possibly do coming out of the gates is to try to be as physical as you possibly can. I think they know you're going to hand it off to Bijan Robinson. I think the best thing you can do is probably hand it off to Bijan Robinson to test their physicality from play number 1 on. So I'm definitely going probably inside zone, Bijan Robinson, and he's probably going to pick up somewhere between 5 and 7 yards. And I'm going to remember I said that because I want that 5 to 7 yards starting off. They leave us with second and 5 or 2nd and 3. But hell, you know what? It wouldn't be a bad situation if they decided they want to do a play action pass, go over the top on a post to either 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗧 Worthy or Joshua Moore right out the gate. Wouldn't be a bad idea either. You can take it for 7 to the house on the first play of the 2020. I'm going to
be more looking for the first, package or the first sub package or the first alignment or the first group we're sending out there more than I am the play that's actually run. Because that's a lot of what I'm going to be looking at tomorrow is how many times we're in 22, how many times we're in, empty, how many times that we show a different group on the field, number one, and then who are those guys on the field when we run those different formations. But, I wrote it down, Jeremy PAP and Clint's inside zone. So we'll see. Did want to touch on this real quick. I did read an article from 247, and I did see a picture on Twitter of Jared Wiley being his left arm is in a sling. So I don't know that there's any unnamed starters that aren't going to play tomorrow, but I do know, and I haven't heard of any last-second injuries, but I do know today there was a picture shown where Jared Wiley had his left arm in a sling.
Yeah, you got to either or there at tight end anyway. With him and Gunnar Helm, if you go back at the 2 deep, so that tells you what they think about Gunnar Helm at this particular point, and I think it's because of his blocking. I think there were multiple stories out there that says, man, I don't know, you can be 6'7", 252 pounds and not be willing to block. And again, Banks and Sarkisian are huge on that, man, with their tight ends. You got to be able to be multifaceted tight end. You got to be able to block for your running backs, but at the same time, be able to go, be a pass catcher. And I think they're seeing more out of Gunnar Helm than they actually are with Wiley at this particular point at that tight end position. So that's what they think about Gunnar Helm. So, if Jared Wiley is injured and he's not able to play tomorrow, then you're probably going to see Wiley, or not Wiley, but Helm and Brewer lining up at those 2 tight ends in that 12 personnel set.
Yeah, I want to throw this comment up here. Austin Palmer hit the nail on the head. Yeah, dog paws on a hardwood floor. Actually, the producer was out with our oldest dog at a vet appointment just momentarily, and I had a feeling she was going to come home right at the beginning of the podcast. But again, we're trying to get this thing started early. I have plans to go eat dinner real quick after this thing's done and go watch Copper's Cove versus Georgetown, play football. And I think Clint might try to sneak over to Schertz Clemens and watch Clemens versus Reagan if he gets a chance tonight. So, she was with me. I fed her. I had her in here. But I knew once her mom and her brother came home that she's probably going to move around and go want to see them. So that was definitely very, very in I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah, you heard it, and that, it's exactly right.
Just kind of going through these comments here, talking about, where is it at? I'm sorry. It's crazy. Yeah.
I'll throw this one up because
Okay.
it's a big deal. And we've talked about it. The temperature tomorrow is supposed to be 98 degrees. One of the journalists asked Steve Sarkisian about, game prep and the heat, 98 degrees. When is college football or the network's going to decide that 3:30 kickoffs aren't smart, during the summertime in Texas. And he basically said you control what you can control. He hopes that everybody is safe and everybody stays hydrated. Everybody's, conditioned to sit in the heat for 4 hours. Cause he's like, it's not like you go outside and you go outside 15 minutes, take a dip in the pool and you come back in. You're going to be sitting in hot, 98 degree conditions. Probably gonna be a lot hotter than that on the field. Yeah. Mark Leber just basically thought what I said. It's going to be 108 on the field by the time these things get kicked off. But a team like Louisiana is probably conditioned for it. A team like Texas is conditioned for it. I know he's worked a lot outdoors, for this conditioning period to get them ready for tomorrow. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a thing, and that's why it's important to be able to have 8 deep when we're talking about defensive line and get those big guys on and off the field and refresh. And Keandre Coburn kind of talked about that earlier this week in his media availability about being fresh. But what were you looking for, Clint? Something similar?
I got it here. Yeah, so Cody Phillips talking about the way Ryan Day got, Stroud comfortable early is what I see Sark doing for Hudson. It's all scripted. He scripted those plays that Hudson likes to run, probably the most, that he feels the most comfortable with, that he knows that whatever it is, it's an RPO, a fake to Bijan and catching, someone on a skinny post or a 5-yard slant, to start with. But he's going to find those plays that Hudson feels really comfortable with, and those throws that he feels really comfortable with, that he makes probably 90% of the time in practice, that he knows that he can complete. That's where he's going to start out. So we can get him comfortable. Because again, you got to think about it. He's playing in the university he always wanted to play at is the number one quarterback, and probably what's going to be somewhere probably between 90 and 100,000 fans. So it's hard to not be amped up for that, but you got to understand, you got to keep those emotions under control, and be, go out there and just do what you do. Kerstetter said it best this week during his media availability, and because they asked him, how are y'all going to keep him calm with all the pressure that's going around him? He just wrap your arms around him and say, hey man, our job is to protect you. Just stay within yourself. Do what you do. Really do what continue to make those decisions that Josh Thompson was talking about, when they asked him, why does he start quarterback? And he says, because he makes really good decisions. Just make those decisions you've been making and really just go out there and play within yourself and play to really what you've done the last really 18 practices of fall.
Yeah, and that game was tight, and they were down, moments in that football game. What I liked about C.J. Stroud was he kind of, like Clint said, played within himself, didn't try to force anything. And all of a sudden in the second half, Alabi got open for 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson's running down the middle. He hits the running back, Travion Henderson, on the screen. So, yeah, those explosive plays. And I say that to say this. It's all gas, no brakes. That's what you want this thing to look like. They may have been vulnerable and may have been down to Minnesota on the road at times. But when it came to making plays and busting big ones, they weren't worried about, 12-play, 15-play offensive drives. They were trying to go for the jugular each and every time. And Ryan Day was a hell of a play call in the second half of that football game. But he stayed within himself. He made mistakes. He threw interceptions that were returned, by Minnesota. But he didn't, it didn't let him affect him for the full 60 minutes of the football game.
My question to that, though, is with a guy like Casey Thompson that's sitting on the bench that is probably like 1B to your 1A, do you think it causes you to overthink things and have to worry about what's going on and being replaced at this particular point?
Sarkisian addressed it yesterday when he said, the same question we asked a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago when we found out that Hudson was a starter is how long is that leash? Like, when are you bringing Casey in? Like, he said it's all gut for him, just like somebody asked him, hey, if you pull Hudson and Casey goes on 3 consecutive scoring drives, when are you going to – it's all what ifs. And to him, it seems like his answer is always it's going to be my gut. My gut's going to tell me when to put Casey in. My gut's going to tell me when to pull Hudson out. My gut's going to tell me, how I'm going to play this, like you said, 1A and 1B quarterbacks. So I don't think there's any number of interceptions or plays not made or overthrows or that type of deal. I think he's just going to see how the team's flowing. If the team's flowing with that particular quarterback, he's going to ride them. And then if they're not and they're not moving the football, then the other guy comes in. But he said it himself. He coaches by gut, and I appreciate that.
I was gonna say that because we had a coach that doesn't coach by gut; he coaches by the binder, and I like that you get away from that. Go with what your instincts are telling you. What your coaching instincts. You've been coaching for how long? So my thought is, if you feel it's the right time, it's the right time. I think when you look at it, though, I think again, and this doesn't happen with the fan base. It felt like it started happening at the end of last season when you're trying to get ready to fire a coach that people are kind of rooting against the team to almost fail so that you fire Tom Herman to bring someone in. Does it make sense? And I'm hoping, obviously there's fans out there that are all in on Casey Thompson, and kind of sore to the fact that Casey Thompson wasn't selected to be the starting quarterback at the University of Texas. And I think it's the same side on the Hudson Card piece. I just hope there's guys out there that aren't hoping that Hudson Card's going to fail so that Casey Thompson gets an offense. Yeah, it's because that's a bad situation to be as a fan, man. And I just can't swallow. I can't swallow that pill, man. That's
to me, that's not a thing, dude. Like if you're a fan of a football team, you were never a fan of the guys or the names on the back of the jerseys. They come and go, especially in college. Like every 4 years, you've got a new quarterback. Every couple of years, you got a new running back. Like Bijan Robinson's not going to be here forever. So to me, that's not even a thing. Like if you're a true fan, you don't root on number 1 to fail so number 2 could take their place. And this is a pregame show, so I don't even want to go down that road. But that's so it's not even a topic for me. Like if you're a fan of the university, you never hope they fail, regardless of what outcome you're hoping for. To me, it's about Texas winning championships and not a single individual earning this spot or getting this award. And if fans are thinking like that, they're dead wrong. And I don't know. I don't want to be belittling, but yeah.
We're not going anymore. Okay, so Scott Sheraton here talking about sitting here watching North Carolina Virginia Tech game. Virginia Tech looks good. My hope is that our offense keeps the defense guessing. I like Texas 42-17, and we run away with the game in the fourth quarter. And his spread is just a little bit bigger than Clint's. I can tell you that, which we will probably put out here in the next. I'm going to say probably me and Jim are going to go about 45 minutes tonight. There's a reason why we're doing it earlier on a Friday night. He said I was going to go watch Clemens earlier. I'm actually going to watch Thibodeau Steele play Reagan High School here in San Antonio.
Right.
Clemens does still have a tendency. They share a field in shirts. So when Clemens is not playing at home, Steele's usually playing there, which is a really good football team to go watch as well. So I'm probably going to just pick up and probably walk across the street here. It's probably like a 5 to 7 minute walk from my house over to the stadium. Probably watch a little Friday night football, and Jeremy's going to do the same thing there in Copper's Cove as well. So
yeah, I like the 25-point spread. Scott, thank you for the $20 super chat. You're always in here. You're always very generous to us. We really, really appreciate that. I like Glenn. I'm a little closer than 25, but if I get 42-17 in a runaway in the fourth quarter, I'll take it. Because again, this is a good football team we're playing tomorrow in Louisiana. Again, they're a top 25 team too, 11-3. In 2019, 10-1 last year. So out of their last, they're 21-4 in their last, whatever math that makes sense, 25 games they played. So they're a dang good football team, an experienced football team who's coming in here thinking they have a chance to win. So yeah, if we're 42-17, I'll definitely take that.
I think Rick's biggest thing about this comment too is hoping the offense keeps the defense guessing. And I don't think you're having a problem with obviously Coach Sark, be able to call these plays and them trying to figure out what we're going to play from really what call from play to play because of the system he uses. Remember, he's got this big ass playbook that goes across all types of offenses, and I think again, you're playing number 23 team in the country, so you're going to have to come out and call plays. It's not one of these games where you're playing a rise and can be a little bit more vanilla because you're beating guys on talent. I think he's going to have to show more than what we did if he – go ahead, Jeremy.
And no, that frustrates me. And no, it frustrates me because vanilla is never a thing. You got 11 football games. And again, this whole, I'm going to save for plays for Oklahoma. No, I want to show Oklahoma as many different alignments as I can, as many different personnel groups as I can, because I want them to have to prepare for every concept, whether it be one running back, 3 tight ends, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. Like that whole holding plays and alignments and keeping that stuff in the playbook for later in the season has always been asinine to me. We talked about it last year. Like, I don't understand that. So, yes, all gas, no brakes, as many different alignments, as many different positions. Like you said, I don't have an X receiver. I don't have a Z receiver. I don't have an H receiver. I want my guys to be able to line up across the board and be able to play every position. And to me, you show everything every game. Like, you're exhausted.
And what may be asinine, but at the same time, you have years and years of video of him calling plays. So everything's out there anyway, so it doesn't matter. Again, do I think you need to pull out the entire playbook against Louisiana? Yeah, you're going to probably call more plays against Louisiana than you would Rice because he's got years and years of tape out there anyway of people watching him, and they still can't stop it. You just go back and look at Kerry Coombs, who had an opportunity to play him in a national championship game last year, and that guy was about as lost as you could possibly be calling a football game against Steve Sarkisian on the defense side of the ball.
So this is our guy, Josh Young. He's down from Kansas. I think Josh was still living in Kansas. He may be local now. Been following the channel, day one guy to the show. He is actually looking for someone to go to the football game with him tomorrow. He hit us up in DMs. Unfortunately, I had soldiers that had to go to Louisiana, so I'm semi on call for anything that they may need over the next couple of days. Clint's got some stuff he's got going tomorrow, so we're not going to be able to attend the football game. But Josh is looking to give 1 ticket away, and he's got pretty doggone good seats. So hit him up if you're looking to go to the game tomorrow. I know it's last second notice, but please hit him up and let him know if you're interested.
Let me pull the next one here from Shadow Bearded here. He says, you pulled one up and I pulled one up at the same time. We'll go to this one first.
Only because he agreed with me did I pull it up.
I know. I wasn't going to pull it up just because he agreed with you. Thank you, Scooter. I appreciate that.
Don't hold anything back. Don't go vanilla again. Use all your weapons. It's Scooter's been around for a long time. It's not anything suited. He's heard me say that all last year with Tom Herman's offense. You know, like you have to put it all out there and make them prepare for it. But go ahead, Clint.
So he said, laugh out loud. We want a close. No, my goodness gracious. Where are we at? I picked the wrong one again. So, but hey, let's see what we got here. Laugh out loud. We won a close game against Notre Dame one year, and that didn't turn out so well. Yeah. Again, you got to play again, but it's not playing to the level of your competition. We got to stay away from that, and I think that's what we've done. We've played good against the USCs, the Notre Dames, the LSUs, those non-conference games you're supposed to play really, really well. We did a really good job of those. What happens is when you get in season and you start playing against the likes of the guys that you should not be winning close games against or losing close games against, that's the problem we've had from year to year to year. So wasn't expecting to answer that question. Do you have anything you want to add to that question?
No, just again, take it game to game because I kind of concentrated on the one above it that said, why you look for that other one. It may have been this one. ULL doesn't play anyone though. They barely won games last year against teams that really just suck. LOL. Again, man, Texas plays close to the best against teams historically over the last couple of years that they should beat pretty regularly and pretty soundly. Again, you saw Scott Sheridan's 42-17 prediction. At this point, yes. Is that a desired effect? Absolutely. Is that a desired outcome that we have? Absolutely. But again, Texas is in no position to discount any opponent and get after it. But yeah, I think Perry's saying this tongue in cheek. I think he thinks they're a good football team that's experienced. They're coming into Austin to win the football game, and you got to be prepared to.
Again, you got a team that went up to Ames last year and beat Iowa State, who you happened to lose to at home last year. So they may be able to get up for games, for big games, and just play their competition like we do. But when you only lose one game or 4 games over a 2-year period, you know how to win football games. And you're bringing back 20 to 22 starters that don't make a lot of mistakes. So if you go out there and you make mistakes and get penalties and turn the ball over and, just like they did to Iowa State, what they had a field goal returned, and I think +2 in the turnover category. It puts you behind the chains, and you start playing from behind, and then you get guys that get in there and get nervous, and it starts giving guys like us that that been watching this team a long time, PTSD and the fact that here we go again syndrome, which is probably going to happen. And it's probably going to lead to the next comment I bring up here, where Scooter Lannister also asked us, are you guys more nervous or more excited about tomorrow? I'm feeling real nerves.
And see, I'm excited up until probably kickoff, and that's when the nerves will kick in. Probably about 3 o'clock when I set up that live chat tomorrow for you guys. So tomorrow, let me plug something real quick. So tomorrow we'll set up a live chat. We won't be on air, of course. It'll be the same thing we did last year, where we leave something like this open and basically have a background that'll look similar, but you guys can chat in game. Of course, I'll appear every now and then with my comments or thoughts. But 30 minutes after that, or 30 minutes after the final kick is over, then probably we'll be coming on maybe a little bit longer. Depends on how long it takes us to set up and to find data to talk about. But tomorrow, 3 o'clock is when I'll probably start getting nervous when I'm setting up that in-game chat, because then it'll be real. We probably won't get much sleep tonight. Probably still be looking to prepare for tomorrow. But right now it's fired up. It's excited. As we get closer to kickoff, it's probably going to be a little bit more nerves.
I can't say anything different than what Jeremy's saying at this particular point. Probably about 3:25, 3:25, get ready for kickoff. All the pregame shows kind of stopped, and then we're about to get ready to get kicked off. Definitely nerves will play a part in that, just because of what you've dealt with over the last couple of seasons. And you got a ranked Louisiana team, top 25 team coming into your home. Redshirt freshman starting, his first game. There's definitely going to be some nerves, but I think it's going to be really exciting. I think once you got to play from an advantage. I think you got to go down here and put your foot on the gas, and you got to score as many points and let these guys make Louisiana play from behind. I think that's what you have to do, because they want to run the ball, and if they got to get out there and start passing the ball around, it allows your defensive guys to be able to tee off and then make mistakes, and then I think that's where you start getting to that it starts rolling over into those scores that Scott Sheraton are talking about. But yeah, definitely excited tonight. Like I said, it's Christmas Eve. Probably won't sleep very much, just thinking about and probably watching games all the way up until, and then, but definitely excited. 7 o'clock, I think. What do you call it comes on 7 o'clock at LHN tonight?
Oh, yeah. So right after us is
All Access.
All Access. Yeah.
Yep.
So we kind of positioned it there to kind of lead up to them. Only, like Clint said, because we got high school games we want to attend tonight. But yeah, so 7 o'clock right after we get off here, probably right before I head off to watch Copper's Code play, I'll probably be tuning into that just for a few minutes.
Let's see here. David Williams, I don't know what circumstances the game will be, but it'll be interesting if Coach Sarkisian coaches based on his all gas, no breaks mantra. I want Texas to win, but I'd like them to win big. I think that's what it is. I think over the last couple of years, even when you win, you're winning by the margin of victory is so small. And the last time we probably won big games was back 2000, the 2000s, all the way up until 2010, where we had those large margin of victories. I think we had a couple with Herman, you had a couple with Strong, but it wasn't consistent. And I think you got to get to that consistent of winning, by double digits, 2 touchdowns. To me, this is a 2 touchdown victory tomorrow, and I'll give my idea behind that here in a few minutes. I got them by 2 touchdowns, and I think you have to do that consistently across the board against good football teams, moving forward. But yeah, I'm with you. I think all gas, no breaks is going to be. I think you're going to be aggressive on the defense side of the ball, and I think he's going to be aggressive on the offense side of the ball, and I think that's what he wants from his team.
A couple things. Yeah, super sticker. Really appreciate that. I don't know if we see too many of these, but really appreciate that, Gregory I, the $5 donation to the channel. Joshua Young said, hit that like button, people, hook horns up. So yes, please hit that like button. Please give us your prediction, your score prediction for the game. There's 61 folks in here. There should be 61 scores. We got Scott Sheridan's. It's 42-17. We'll give you yours in about the next 10 minutes, but please give us your player of the game with the score prediction to let us know you're in here. And then I do want to recognize one gentleman who's happens to be one of my soldiers from the past, Joel Daniel, said different coach, same players, no excuses. Texas has players to win every game this year. Joel, I said the same thing. There's 2 games out there that I feel like we would be underdogs in at this point, and that's Iowa State and Oklahoma. So really appreciate your attendance, young man. Please hit that like button. We definitely agree with you. I just don't want to hear any Monday press conference excuses. What I want us to do is go out and play good football, play good sound football, play fundamental football with little mistakes. And if we happen to lose a football game where we just got beat by a better team, then that's acceptable, But I don't want to turn the football over. I don't want to have penalties. I don't want to make, boneheaded mistakes in the secondary. I don't want to have, our linemen missing blocks that leads to Hudson or Casey, whoever's back there gets sacked. Just play our best brand of football wherever that takes us. That we have to be fine with. But thanks for your attendance.
So, biggest thing let's kind of go into rushing yards, receiving yards.
Sure.
You want to do that? Okay. Yeah. For the next 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes. So, first question, and this is for Jeremy, and I'll answer it too. Biggest thing, and this is for everybody in the comments as well. Where do you have Bijan? How many yards you got Bijan going for tomorrow? Carries and yards.
Okay, I got you. 23 carries for 130. Probably on the low end. Hang on. 170. 23 carries for 170 yards.
Okay. I'm going to go over the top of you, I guess, man. I had him at 150. I'm going to go 25, 175 tomorrow. I think he's got 25 carries, 175 yards for Bijan tomorrow. And I'm going to say he's going to score 2 touchdowns. It is going to skyrocket him into the next game against Arkansas. So I'm going 2 touchdowns, 125 carries, 175 yards for Bijan tomorrow. He is going to be the bell cow. They're going to have to stop him.
I got 2 touchdowns too. One touchdown receiving, 1 touchdown rushing. So my final line, 23 for 170, 1 touchdown rushing, 1 touchdown receiving. And I'm like them. I think that it's possible if we jump out early that you could see Roschon and Keelan, flirt with that 100-yard marker too. Like I said, I think this running back room could get 3,000 yards this year, which is pretty substantial. We'll see what happens.
So Gregory, I going with the smaller total here of carries, going 12 carries, 100 yards tomorrow. And again, that may be because if we jump out to a big lead, they may just say, "Hey, Bijan, we're gonna put you on the sideline and let Keelan and Roschon run the ball a little bit." I just don't see it happening right now. I think he's going to get a lot of carries and a lot of carries in the first half, and it may dwindle once it gets to the second half. I think he wants these guys to play. I think you need to get them in game action together with everybody. Joshua Young, man, he's giving us a score, and he's going 48-17 Texas. Huge, man. Goodness gracious. That's 31 points. 25 for 250. 25 for 250. 10 yards of carry for Joshua Young there. David Williams here with Louisiana center weighing 270 pounds. Keandre Coburn, Tavondre Sweat should have been a double team each play. That should really help Moro Jumbo and hopefully Ray Thornton get into Louisiana backfield. Let's go to a defensive question. Who gets the most tackles for loss or sacks tomorrow in the game?
You combining TFLs and sacks.
Let's do TFLs and sacks.
Combine. Ojimo.
You going Ojimo?
Yeah. I mean, because he's playing that position. Like Keandre Coburn is doing exactly what David Williams is saying, and it's going to free Ojimo. It's going to free Ojimo up if they're playing stunt games inside. But I think if they're going man up and they're just rushing their lanes, I think it could help a backer or like you said, the outside guys, suck up all those sacks, being Jones or Thornton. But my gut is they're going to be trying to do that stuff with 2 guys, and I think Ojimo's going to be your guy. I think they're going to try to work with 2.
So I think what's going to happen is we're going to force them to have to pass the ball. One, I think we're going to get up on top of them, all gas, no brakes. I think we're going to get up on top. I think number 2, I think they're not going to be able to run against our defensive line. I think it would be difficult for me to see them get over 100 yards in rushing tomorrow. I think we're going to have to make our guy Levi is probably going to have to play around in the pocket a little bit too much. I'm actually going to go with probably Jacoby Jones. I think Jacoby Jones is probably going to have multiple sacks and multiple tackles for loss. I'm going to go 5 total tackles for loss, sack combined tomorrow at the end of the game. I'm going Jacoby Jones.
Okay. I'm taking notes.
Taking notes. That's good. I like it. All right, let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. Hudson Card is going to play his first game as a starter. We're not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about wide receiver, biggest wide receiver. Who has the biggest game tomorrow? Wide receiver.
Whittington.
You're going Whittington? Going to give you some yards catches?
I think it's going to be pretty spread out, man. I think it's going to be – I know it's not going to be a lot of dudes, but I think Hudson's going to use his tight ends. I think Hudson's going to use his backs. Just got a gut feeling on Whittington because I love Moore and I love, and I just haven't seen Xavier Worthy play a football game yet, so I can't say him. I'm thinking Whittington 6 catches for about 80 and a touch. 6 for 80 and a touch because I think it's going to be spread out.
I got Joshua Moore. 8 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown.
I'll take it. If we got 2 receivers that combine for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, I'll take it. Because I think the backs are going to get a lot of balls, and I think the tight ends are going to get it too. And then kicking a guy like X and by numbers here.
I think what's going to happen. I think it's going to be intermediate routes. I think it's going to be short to intermediate routes. It's going to be underneath. Just trying to get Hudson Card comfortable. And I think what will happen is Joshua Moore or Whittington will catch the ball and have an opportunity to take one to the house. I think that's really the way it's going to work. Maybe like an RPO or something across the middle on the slant.
Yeah, but you're talking about yardage. Like yardage. You watched Travion Henderson bust that screenplay last night for Ohio State, and you saw that several times last year with Bijan. And it's only going to take him 2 screenplays to get possibly 110, 120 yards. That's what I'm saying. Like he could be, and somebody else said that Bijan Robinson could be your number 1 receiver. And I just think it's going to be so spread out that we're going to be a lot of guys like Joshua Moore, and I guess he was my guy when we talked about our wide receiver room, the most consistent guy last year with 10 touchdowns. As far as his stats, pretty much summed up everybody else combined. So it could definitely be Josh Moore. I think Louisiana's probably going to be that's the 2 guys they're going to target is Bijan Robinson and Joshua Moore. And they're going to say, hey, let Whittington X in the tight end room try to beat us. And I just got a good feeling about Jordan Whittington tomorrow night. His body looks better. I think they're going to try to play over the top of Josh Moore because he is the most proven commodity, and it's going to allow a guy like Whittington to do his thing.
All right, question. Here we go. You get 1 interception tomorrow. 1 interception. Hopefully there's more, but I'm going to give you 1. Linebackers or defensive backs?
Who's going to get it? DBs.
No, okay, you're going DBs. I'm going linebackers, man. I'm going linebackers. I'm going to go Luke Brockermeyer. Lots of interceptions in the fall, but I'm not going to go with Luke Brockermeyer. I'm going to go to Marvin Overshown. Straps is going to get an interception from that linebacker position tomorrow. I think he's going to cause havoc. I think he's going to be in and around the line, but I think in some particular point, I think he's going to move back into coverage, and Levi's not going to see him. He's going to catch one across the middle. I'm going to Marvin Overshown gets an interception tomorrow.
Jameson.
All right. At the end of the game, let's talk about defensive backs here. At the end of the game, who has the best stat line from our defensive backs? And you can count Anthony Cook in there as well as a 5th.
What are you talking about? You talking about PBUs? What are you talking about?
Yeah, PBUs, pass breakups.
Completion percentage.
Pass breakups.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
That's okay. Interceptions, tackles. Who has the best stat line?
I won't say stat line. I'll say overall best game because that's a lot of stuff in there. That's Deshaun Jameson doesn't give up any ball. I'm going to say Deshaun Jameson because to me, that's the most important piece is if you're not letting dudes catch the ball, then you're doing your job. So I think the same guy that I'm picking to have the 1 pick is probably going to play the best game as defensive back. And again, corners, their game versus the safeties is like that's a complex question because let's break it up because if you're looking for a guy who's not going to get the ball caught him, I'm taking Deshaun Jameson. If you're talking about the safety position, who's down in the box and making tackles and providing, PBUs and not allowing them to get us over the top, then I'll just say the best defensive back performance for me is probably going to be Deshaun Jameson.
All right. Not giving up any passes. That's what we're talking about? Yeah.
I mean, it's just overall game because there's a lot to go with that.
Absolutely. I'm going Anthony Cook. I think there's a reason that that PK brought this guy into made him a starter at that star position. That's a big position for PK's defense, and I think you're going to see a lot of from Anthony Cook tomorrow, and it's going to play a lot against the slot as well. So it have an opportunity to cover as well. But I'm going with Anthony Cook. But if I was to go opposite, if I was going just DBs tomorrow, I think Josh Thompson, man, believe it or not, I think Josh Thompson may have a better game than 𝗣𝗏😅 𝗪𝗓🐐 from the cornerback position tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just, again, guys are saying Schooler. It's just hard for me to find what a good game is against a safety, because a guy who's a free safety like Brendan Schooler, his job is to play in the run game when it's run fit, to play coverage on on tight ends and running backs. But then his real job is to not get beat over the top. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going against him as a primary defender in the pass game. It's him over the top of somebody else. But yeah, so it's crazy. But yeah, I think the best defensive back performance tomorrow for me is 𝗟𝗏😅 𝗪𝗓𝗐. But yes, I think Schooler and Foster, I'm going to be keeping an eye on them because I'm excited for this 5-man senior-led group. And I was just going down the list, man, like looking at we don't have any underclassmen in our 11 on defense. Like, and we have a ton of transfers who have 5-year experience. So this is a brand new coaching staff with 𝗟𝗞𝗘 𝗦𝗧, and all 11 guys are upperclassmen.
Yeah,
I'm going to be watching those guys.
It's crazy, the experience, how much these guys have been in college forever. If I go back and look at it, I'd love to look at it as far as, like, obviously you can't count as returning production because a lot of these guys you didn't have that are transfers in. But if you go back and look at experienced defenses from really what years, this may be one of the more experienced defenses we've seen in a long time. From 5 years, the entire defensive backs are all seniors, right? If I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
every one of them, right?
Yeah. So I'll run it down real quick. So Jones is a senior, Jones is a junior, but a 4-year guy.
Yeah.
And then you got Keandre Colborn, who's a junior, Ray Thornton, who's a senior, Agofu Jr., Brockemeyer Jr., Overshone Senior, and then all your DBs, your nickel is all seniors. You're talking about 𝗟𝗏😅 𝗪𝗓𝗍, Josh Thompson, Anthony Cook, Schooler, and Foster. It's bunch of old heads, man. And I think I'm excited about watching these. The way they talk in their media availability, how they trust. Like I said, when Schooler's saying, "Hey, I could look at BJ and understand what his responsibilities are, and he understands what mine are." I think you got a good group of players, and a ton of those guys are 4- and 5-star producers. I think you're finally melding the experience with the coaches. I don't want to be sipping burnt orange tea here, but I'm really, really comfortable with how this group was selected because I know the best players are out there. The producers are out there. And now it's just time to go to work. I want to see 4-down linemen, 2 linebackers. I want to see 3-down linemen, three linebackers. I want to see what the nickel looks like. I want to see us get them in 3rd and 20 and see what that dime package looks like. But yeah, ton of experience, brand new coaches. Let's get after it. And it's put up or shut up time. Joel said this a little bit earlier. It's time. It's all gas, no brakes, whatever you want to say. Tomorrow it's for real. We're going to see this group of players go out with this new coaching staff and get after it.
Damn, Jeremy's excited. That's the longest I've ever been able to take a breath. Usually, because I'm the one usually doing all the talking, man. But here we go. So I'm gonna plug us real quick on a couple of things, and then we are going to, again, Mark O'Neill here said, "Man, college football is here. My summer is over. It is here, dude. We are literally 21 hours for kickoff tomorrow. University of Texas versus Louisiana. There at DKR, 3:30 Central Time. Man, it's gonna be hot as hell, and we got a whole bunch of passionate fans out there in the stands tomorrow. If you hadn't had an opportunity to go listen to our podcast, we talked a little bit about Kirk Herbstreit's comments about Texas fans and his thought on our Texas fans. I can tell you, me and Jeremy wholeheartedly had a conversation about that yesterday and had a passionate conversation on our podcast. But you can find that on the Pigskin Podcast Network, on any platforms, really any podcast platform of your choice. Please go listen to that. What we do is we go in there and grab a couple of questions out from our lives. We answer those questions, and then we went into conversation about Kirk Herbstreit. And then we went into the Texas versus Louisiana game. So if you wouldn't mind going checking that out, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We're going to talk about this comment here first, and then we're going to get into our game predictions and talk about our scores.
I pulled it up, David, because I don't know how long you've been watching the show. This show is 49 minutes long. But the first thing we did was talk about how Louisiana has won. Bad math. I'm doing math in public again. But 4 games in the last 2 years, 11 wins in 2019, 10 wins in 2020. The only game they lost last year was to Coastal Carolina by 3 points. we've given them a ton of respect. We talked about how they're up and down the Sun Belt Conference, first team, second team, third team, and honorable mention. We talked about their coach, how he coached with Steve Sarkisian in Alabama, and how good he is. And the only reason why he probably came back to Louisiana is to win that Sun Belt championship. We have definitely not been disrespecting the University of Louisiana. We definitely talked about the fact that Texas can't just roll their helmet out there and beat these guys. These guys are coming into Austin with a chance, thinking they have a chance to win. And if you sell them short, then you could find yourself, chasing this game. So absolutely not. I don't know if you got that from us or if you got that from the comments box, but no. Texas football fans need to take every football team that walks into DKR seriously, and that's the only way you're gonna have these 4 touchdown spreads that folks think you're going to get there is when you take teams seriously. You can't write teams off and then beat them by the spreads that we're talking about.
All righty, here he's talking about he's a Bama fan, so he's following. Sorry, hey, we appreciate you listening to our channel. And they got Miami tomorrow, right? That's a game that I'm gonna watch after that.
Yep.
So, all right, let's go. Let me go first. You want to go first? Score predictions.
You can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I have Texas 31-17. I think PK is serious about this 20-point average. What better way to start it off in your first game to keep it under 20 points? I have them giving up 17 points. I'm going to say 7 of those points probably come at the end of the fourth quarter. In garbage time, I think the defense comes out. I think they come out aggressive, and I think they play really, really, really well. It's going to be hot. You're going to be rotating a whole bunch of guys in on that defensive line. So a lot of guys are going to be eating. But I have us scoring 31 points. I have Bijan scoring 2 touchdowns. I have Hudson Card scoring a touchdown. We'll get a receiving touchdown, and then Dicker the kicker will get a field goal. 31-17, Texas tomorrow.
All right, I'm giving you – I had my original prediction was 38-21, but I know you're stuck on that 20 points per game. So I took the touchdown off the board. I gave them 2 field goals. My final score, Texas 38, Louisiana 20, 18-point differential. That's your score. I hope I'm right. I hope Clint's wrong, and we'll see what happens. But no, I'm just more excited about having football. Like I said, that 8.5-point spread means nothing to me. I want to go out there and put a good product on the field, win the football game, see everybody get healthy or stay healthy and get ready for Arkansas. Yeah.
So, hey, hope you enjoyed this, our first pregame of the year. We'll usually do these on Thursday nights, probably around our same time, 7 o'clock, so more people can join us. I know we did this one fairly early today on a Friday. We're trying to get to some high school football games tonight after we get off of here. But again, we appreciate y'all listening as always. Excited for our postgame tomorrow. Postgame will probably be about 30 minutes after game time tomorrow is usually when we do it, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. Is that what we're looking at?
30 to 45. So what basically what it's going to take us is setting up the studio because it takes us a little bit of time to get this thing set up. Once the final bell hits, look for us 30 to 45 minutes. Again, it will show. Hopefully you got your notifications set. But yeah, look for us to go on 30 to 45 minutes post game. Again, I'll update that because we'll have an in-game live chat going on at the same time. As soon as the game's over, we'll end that thing. We'll probably give you a estimated start time for the post game show at that time, and then hopefully we have a thumbnail that chronicles a Texas victory with the player of the game. That'll be the guy who's on the thumbnail. So look for that tomorrow. But yeah, we're going live tonight, pregame or in game, and then post game tomorrow. So yeah, be looking out for us. Yep,
we're really excited, man. Really, really excited. So again, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please join the Texas Football Talk family. If you haven't went over to our podcast, please go over and visit our podcast. It'd be greatly appreciated. I think Jeremy's trying to pull those things up around. Maybe he is. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, I got you.
I got you. See, I got it. You can follow us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk. You can find us on Instagram at Texas Football Talk and on Twitter at TH Football Talk. Again, you can find our podcast on the Pigskin Podcast Network, on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, or any other really podcast platform of your choice. We are excited about tomorrow, and we will see you maybe for a few minutes pregame as we set that up tomorrow, and then definitely see y'all postgame after the game tomorrow. Y'all have a wonderful night, and hook 'em.
Hook 'em and go Bulldogs.